No mic?
I don't need one. There I do. I have one now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. I have to tell you, every Friday morning at 9 o'clock, the Old Sturbridge Academy charter school students, there are 160 of them, kindergarten through third grade, and they come in here for their weekly town meeting. And I should have videotaped you settling down when I came to the podium, because they do not do it quite that quickly. I can tell you right now. So again, on behalf of everybody here at Old Sturbridge Village, thank you for being with us tonight. This is one of our favorite nights of the year. It allows us to have an annual reunion with Ken Burns, who has done so much for the village and for history, media, craft, and the American public. And there's no more needed time than now for us to be helping Americans, especially our future generations, which is why we believe so strongly in the Academy, to learn their history and to develop those perspectives that are critical to our democracy. So we're very grateful, Ken, to you for your work. We're grateful for the honor of being able to bestow this award in your name. And we're really excited tonight that Norm is going to be the recipient, because all of us here, I think, speak for the board and the staff, feel especially close to you, Norm. And so we could think of no fitting tribute to what you've done than this award tonight. So thank you for that. Quick update on the village. We're actually ahead of schedule, so that's good. So I'm not going to take up that advanced time by talking, but I do want to let you know what's happening here. So in addition to opening the charter school in September very successfully, we hit the power switch on our new solar field, so now 75% of all the electricity used by Old Sturbridge Village comes from the sun. And there's something in the air here at Christmas time. If you've never been to the village's Christmas program, I would urge you to come. Every year it just gets bigger and better. And in December of 2017, the museum hit yet another record for the Christmas by Candlelight program, bringing 19,000 people to the museum over 10 nights of Christmas. So thank you for your support of that. Our commitment to costume interpretation continues. Last year we expanded our intern program for college students, offering stipends and housing. We had some terrific folks here, and while that program was happening, you'll get to meet one of the young men who helped us to secure this gift. A donor approached us who was very interested in making sure that craft continues, historic craft continues, and we were able to secure a $100,000 gift from him to bring 5 to 6 craft fellows here beginning in September in tin, in pottery, in blacksmith, who will live here on campus in our intern housing and hone their skills. So we're very excited about that, and hopefully they are the future interpreters and craftspeople here at the village. So the next generation is being developed. So we're grateful for that. And thank you. And I tell everybody, as CEO here at the museum, I'm just the hand puppet for a great board and a great staff. And we have some key board members in the auditorium here tonight, including Norm Abram, who have been working on, with some of my colleagues and staff, a proposal and a plan to bring the cabinet making shop, the woodworking shop that everybody loved, back to the museum in time for our 75th anniversary in the year 2021. This will be a replica shop. Our hope is to put it on the Common. It'll be the first replica construction since my tenure began in 2007. And we couldn't be more excited about that and this commitment, right, to cabinet making, to woodworking, that was so important to this area of New England and this section of the state of Massachusetts in the period that we interpret. So there's no better place in the Commonwealth than Old Sturbridge Village for there to be a cabinet making shop. Our program this evening is simple. We will watch a quick video so that if you do not know our honoree Norm Abram, you'll get to know him a little better. Okay. I don't think there's anyone in the room who needs that video, Norm, but we're going to orient it, level set everybody. And then it'll be my privilege to bring Ken Burns to the podium, and then we'll bring Norm to the podium. We'll do a little Q&A. You are going to notice that on either side of the auditorium are standing microphones. Thank you very much. Oh, was like God lit the room. Standing microphone, so we'll give you the cue, right, for when it's time. If you have questions for Norm, and certainly for Ken, you can come up to the microphones. We'll do that for a little bit, and then we have some gifts to present at the end of the night and some citations. So we're moving very quick. It's been a great evening so far. So without any further ado, I'm going to take the lights down and show you a little bit about our honoree.
My trade is a carpenter, and my father was a carpenter. He was really the inspiration. I saw him build 2 houses for our family. And by the time I got out of college, I was doing finished carpentry. So when I put the tenons in the table, all the mortises are tight, and these are all glued in place. You know, 35 years ago, I would have never imagined that this is where I'd be sitting today. So as the table starts to expand and contract, it can move freely in these slots.
What's different about Norm is that he thinks it through all the way before he ever picks up a tool. The guy would have been an engineer if he wasn't a master carpenter.
Working with your hands is, I don't know, just an incredible feeling about that most people don't understand. And it's really not just your hands, it's all your senses. I mean, you walk into a construction site and you smell that sawdust, and you touch the wood, and you work with it. There's something about that, you know, it's that three-dimensional experience. And a lot of people don't know that, but once they get a taste of it, they love it.
And I'm going to put the molding flat against the fence and make the first cut.
Teaching on television, it can be difficult. I think the thing that I learned over the years is to just be myself and express it the same way I would if you were standing in the room and we weren't being followed by a camera or a director.
Well, it's still a little bit long, but the angle looks pretty good.
He usually doesn't say that much. And every time he speaks, most people kind of listen, want to know what he's going to say, and then he goes back to not saying it much because he's most of the time thinking about it.
Oh, look at this little dip in the ceiling.
Right? And there's a certain level of precision and thoughtfulness that comes with everything that Norm does.
To plane that off, scribe it and plane it.
To me, going into a house that's being built or renovated and walking around and seeing work done that's not up to standard, it's like, why? Do it right and do it once.
As you know, here at Old Sturbridge Village, our primary job is to document history and to interpret those documents in everyday living in the museum through costume interpretation, through museum education, and through collections and research. I don't think there is anyone in the country who has documented our American history better than Ken Burns, for whom this award is named. Ken does that documentation of our highs and lows, of the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly, of the heroic, and of the horrible. And without that documentation, brought to life through video and music and words, many, many people would never understand why and how we got to where we are today. And so, without any further ado, I'd love to introduce to you today Ken Burns.
Thank you, Jim. That was a very, very generous introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I stand here a bit abashed and not a little bit humbled by your faith in my life's work, which began 44 years ago, for all intents and purposes, right here in this exquisite village, which brings magnificently to life the story of us in ways great and small, that faith has caused you to create an award in my name and honor causes me to continually try to live up to your trust. It also causes me with some embarrassment, since all of our honorees, including tonight's, have so clearly outpaced my own achievements with their amazing careers and work. For almost a decade, though, Old Sturbridge Village has, almost annually, and the almost has to do with my schedule, bestowed this Lifetime Achievement Award to an impressive array of extraordinary women and men who we feel have, quote, made a significant impact on the arts through a project that is relevant to the history we work, meaning us, those of us in this room, that we work to preserve. Over the nearly 10 years, we have invited some remarkable people to our beautiful time machine here to say to them that we feel a special kinship with their work, that we wish to unite their efforts with ours to illuminate for our fellow citizens, especially our children, especially the students, the experiences and lessons of those who lived in New England in the crucial 50 years after our fragile republic coalesced. We've celebrated historians and writers, some of the best we have in this country, who have drawn from our path truths that help us understand our complicated present and our dim, unknown future. We have celebrated great actors whose astonishing performances have literally brought historical characters to life, not as some superficial, sanitized Madison Avenue versions of those figures, but as realistic, recognizable human beings who often ask us in their life's example, sometimes demands of us, that we summon the very best of us to this moment, that we try to invoke, as Abraham Lincoln said, our better angels, even in our most complicated of circumstances. We've even hailed the work of a gifted composer, a man at the very, very top of his profession, a maker of music, the art, another composer, Wynton Marsalis, said, the art of the invisible. Tonight we celebrate perhaps our most suitable choice, a man who works in the most important art form of all, architecture. When we think of art, we think of the literature we periodically read, the paintings and photos we see on our own time in museums and galleries, the dramas, films, and dance we see but briefly in theaters. But architecture works on us all the time, good and bad, 24 hours a day, which makes it the most critical art form of and in our lives. We may be unaware of its centrality in our waking and dreaming life, but no one would ever deny the force of an oppressive environment like a prison or an uplifting place like a cathedral. Even our own houses and workplaces, whether we are aware of it or not, are spaces where the art of architecture, or its lack, influence us every moment of our day. So we are especially proud tonight to honor someone who fits perfectly into our vision of preserving the past by preserving, restoring, and rebuilding the truths and ambitions of those buildings of our vibrant history. A carpenter by trade, and ladies and gentlemen, could there be a better trade than that? A carpenter by trade, he has spent decades perfecting his art and then sharing his artistry with millions. As the master carpenter on public broadcasting, that's my vineyard too. This old house, Yankee Workshop, you know it all, helping to ignite in generations of rapt viewers an appreciation of and interest in restoration and preservation and just great houses, just great building, which become art's most potent and effective medicine. Medicine. We are healed physically, even spiritually, by beautiful places. And he knows this in his bones, in those hands he spoke about. That he is focused primarily on the vernacular architecture of our beloved New England, on the ways our houses today are connected all the way back to the collection of homes and buildings that populate our favorite living history museum, makes his career that much more central to the purpose of this evening's business. Since he also serves on the board of trustees of Old Sturbridge Village, he is also one of us, a member of our extended family, which, of course, makes all of us here burst with pride and satisfaction. 20 years ago, I made a film on Frank Lloyd Wright, perhaps the greatest of all American architects. In it, The late architectural critic and historian Vincent Scully down the road at Yale said the following to us in an interview. We build in relation to those who built before us, and we build in relationship to those who come after us. So that the city, he went on, from the very beginning, from the very time cities are organized in Mesopotamia, the concept of immortality comes along. Gilgamesh is the king of a city, and in the end he decides that the only immortality he has is the building he does. Because with the city, we extend the normal limits of our lives in the conversation between the past and the future. Our little village is not a city, of course, but we see what Vincent Scully means and rejoice not only in the immortality just over there, in the secrets of the buildings we have collected, but in our choice of tonight's honoree. So please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the 2018 recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from Old Sturbridge Village, this carpenter and friend who extends the normal limits of our lives with the buildings he saves, Norm Abram. Norm?
Thank you very much. Just have a couple things I'm going to say. Ken, that was a terrific introduction. Thank you. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight. You know, I'm really honored for receiving this award tonight. Considering the previous recipients, I feel very privileged to be listed along with all of them. And I've been here for a few of those award nights as well, and they were always just educational and very touching to listen to these people talk about what they love to do. I also want to say thanks to all of you here tonight. Many of you here in this room have influenced my career. And some of it is with friendship, some of it's with sharing ideas and techniques of woodworking and carpentry. So I would say this, I share with you. You know who you are. I work with a terrific group of people on this old house. And working on the new Yankee Workshop also was sort of the, love of my life. I love being in that shop and doing the work that we did for the shop. And I think people saw that, and hopefully, they were sort of inspired. I think the word is inspired to try woodworking and see if they like it. And no, the first piece they make will not come out perfect, but they will be the proudest of that particular piece in the beginning. I remember one of the first pieces I ever built for my sister was like a stove. It made out of some scrap wood that she could play with when she was in the sandbox. And it made her so happy. And I was proud of it, but if I looked at it today, I would say, wow, that wasn't very good. The other thing that I'd like to say tonight is, what better place than Old Sturbridge Village to receive this award? It was Old Sturbridge Village which allowed us to have access to one of the best collections of period furniture anywhere in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And those pieces inspired a lot of the projects that I built for the new Yankee Workshop. I've always said that the biggest influence for me was the unknown craftsman, because I can't tell you how many times I looked at a piece of furniture or went into a house to work on it and have no clue who did the work. And when you look at a beautiful piece of furniture or a house that's very well built, you wish you would have known that person. But they never, signed their name to anything, but yet they were still teaching us how things should be done. This is extremely exciting for me, and besides the fact that Sturbridge was able to give me access to such a beautiful collection and work from it, all the years since that time, being involved with this village and trying to, make it better every day and work with Jim and the rest of the staff here is satisfying as building a good piece of furniture. So for those of you who haven't visited the village in a while, I hope you have a chance to do that. You won't be able to do it tonight, but maybe you can come to Christmas by candlelight, which, by the way, is unbelievable. And with that, I'll end with that, and I think I'm better at answering questions than giving a speech. So I'm going to sit down next to Ken, and we're going to take a couple questions. We have a couple questions he's going to ask me, and then hopefully at this time, some of you in the audience can come up here and ask your own questions, and I'll try to answer them. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Norm. We're so happy that you're here tonight with us. I just have a quartet of questions, and then we really want to have this be a town meeting and let folks talk. What has been the highlight of your time working on this old house? Or maybe was there one moment that speaks and exemplifies the experience of that?
That's a tough question, because it's like asking who your favorite child is.
Exactly.
You got to remember, we've been doing this show for 40 years. So
just one.
Well, and so if I have to say just one, I think, for me it was early on in this old house. The second project we did was the Bigelow house. It was an H.H. Richardson house, shingle-style house, up on the hill. And that house was one match from disappearing from existence. It had been a school for crippled children. We found all kinds of weird X-ray prints that were inside the building. It was all boarded up. And that was only the second year. And remember, we were kind of like a gypsy group of contractors and carpenters, and we were all Russ Morash pulled us all together from somewhere. All these people came together, and we took that house apart. And it was so big that we couldn't have it as a single home, so there were no historical requirements on it. And we spent a year, I think over a year, taking that house apart, repairing it structurally, bringing back some of the original architectural details, from little shingle details to doing a curved turret shingling. And that house just turned out magnificent. And to me, of all the projects we did, that one was the most satisfying, because I think it was also the most difficult to do.
I remember that project. I had just moved to New Hampshire, and we remember watching it all the time, and so it's an amazing thing. What are the surprises that have accrued to you as you've done this, that you hadn't expected? I mean, obviously, as you work with your hands, as you're building things, it's almost constant surprises, but if you went up to 30,000 feet, is there something that you, not just the carpenter, but the human being, sees from this experience that is just surprising?
I think the thing that surprised me the most is how people became attracted to what we were doing. You didn't know going into this. Would people be interested in watching houses renovated or a woodworking project? And so we went into it and said, all right, let's do this and see what happens. And then you started hearing people giving some, feedback coming from it. And I think, that was encouraging to see that happen. And then it kept building over time. And today, when people come up to myself or Tom Silver or Roger or any of us on the show and say that they were inspired to get into a trade or into a business related to the trade because of this old house, or started building furniture because of the new Yankee Workshop, that was the most surprising thing. I never imagined that it would get that big and that popular and that respected. And I think the reason might have been that we were just being true to ourselves.
Let's bore in on that for a second, because I'm interested. There's a kind of cynicism that has overtaken the world, and even, however long ago, 47 years ago, when I entered Hampshire College up the road, it was generally decided that film never made anybody actually do anything. It preached to the converted, but nobody could do things. And I've watched my own films influence attendance at national parks or visitations to battlefields or the buying of other books related to the subjects we've just done, which is an immensely satisfying thing. So you've got that on a kind of anecdotal basis, but the extent to which what you've done with this old house and all the other related things over the decades towards historic preservation and igniting in people an interest and sustaining the kind of constituencies we need to have in order to save these important places. Can you talk a little bit about that and how your work is intersected with the larger issue for so many of us of a kind of disposable society that's disinterested in having a past and certainly disinterested in saving the artifacts of that past, and instead bulldozes that magnificent old building in favor of some ticky-tacky, balloon framing, thing that's not going to last the first hurricane.
Well, I think the first thing that these shows did, I think, starting out, and I think it was part of the reason that Russ created these shows, was to inform people of the language and the the techniques. And by using people who were in the professions, who were willing to share their knowledge on how they did things, got homeowners, first of all, interested in how they should maintain their home and what they can do. On the other side of it, in terms of sort of historical details and so forth, we've done both. We didn't do a lot of pure historic restoration, but we tried to respect what was already there. And we could also use new building techniques and materials to do the repairs so that they might last longer, but still keep sort of the right architectural feel to the house. On the inside, obviously, in the culture we live in now, that's a little bit more difficult to do because people want to live in a modern style.
And use a restroom inside the house.
Yes. And but like you said, I think you said earlier, there's nothing. When we drive down the street every day, we see houses, and for me, when I see a house that's well maintained, it's kind of, your eyes kind of light up. You go, well, wow, they did a really great job on that. And when you see a house that's deteriorating, you feel bad about it, and if it goes too far, it's never going to be safe. So by the show itself, I think it got people to try to think about, don't let it go into disrepair, try to grab and take care of it as you can. So I don't know if that answers your question, but basically it's informing the homeowners the language. I remember people saying to me early on, what are you doing telling these people how to do these jobs? These are contractors. And I said, I think you have a little insecurity problem. Because there are DIY people, and they're always going to be DIY people. And some of it's by necessity and that they don't have the financial ability to hire someone to do the work. But, I think then they realized after a while that we were actually helping them. The other part that's a little scary now is, I think we've always inspired people to get into the trades, but we have issues with that right now.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think all of us, particularly now, as Jim alluded in his remarks, that we are concerned about our future. We're concerned about this present moment, and we're concerned about our future. And obviously, you think about this all the time, and as Kevin said, you are a thoughtful person, and I suspect fairly optimistic, because you go at a different kind of RPM because of that thoughtfulness and because of using your hands. Everybody else is super jealous of you because we just spend our days with mouses and keyboards, and you actually work with your hands, and that's a terrific thing. So can you talk to me about what you see the future is, and particularly how you and the programs that you've been involved with and your colleagues are reaching out to another generation to sort of kindle some new interest in them?
Right. So last season, this old house started Generation Next. And the reason that was started is because probably the first person to really put a lot of information out there was Mike Rowe. He's saying, there's millions of jobs that are available and no one's filling them, and they're not being guided correctly through by high school. People are helping them with figuring out what their career should be. So, and then when I started mentioning that to people at first, people were saying, what are you talking about? And I said, oh, have you tried to get a plumber lately? And they said, yeah, we seem to have trouble doing that. So that's the problem. We don't have enough people in the trades, or they're not being trained enough. And that we've created a culture that doesn't expose young people to just experiencing things like woodworking, and even in a very minimal way. When you think about, my generation grew up in homes where our fathers did a lot of their own work around their homes. And either built them or maintained them, and today we don't see a lot of that. So the problem is now is how do we fill that gap? So we're trying to expose the benefits of being and learning a skilled trade, and also hoping to change public perception a little bit, because somewhere along the line it was decided that these were not sufficient or appropriate or good jobs, when in fact they are some of the most important jobs in the country.
And I think as we see from your example, not just the things that you've made and we've watched you make over the decades, but who you are as a human being, that these are immensely satisfying activities. I remember my dad and my brother and I built a redwood fence in our backyard and sunk every post and trued them up and did it under my dad's supervision. And I think that summer went by as one of the most magical summers I had because of the way the days got long and the gnats necked as you were getting sweaty, but the satisfaction of having done it. This was 1968, 69, and I was just back in my hometown, and the other people had it, the fence is crumbling, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And there's something I could say, I built that.
Yeah.
There's something incredibly
Oh,
good.
absolutely, absolutely. When you're in the trades and you build or renovate a house, and you drive down the street, if you have the pride in what you did, you're going to look at that and say, I worked in that house.
Yes.
I did that work. And we've got to get that message to people who are struggling and they're not really, I think they feel like they're disadvantaged in some way when in fact they can be advantaged, and that they don't have to go to a 4-year degree college, that they can find a job and something that makes them happy. I think we need to bring back, woodworking and any of the things that used to be in the schools. And as I was saying to somebody earlier today, if a young person comes in and tries to do some woodworking or painting or anything like that, and they don't like it, that's fine. But my bet is there's going to be plenty who are going to love it.
Exactly.
And then rather than them feeling that they're not going down the path that somebody else wants them to follow, they can follow their own path. And those will be the best craftsmen we're ever going to see in the future.
That's great. Listen, we've got these two mics, as Jim said. If we could maybe bring up the house just a little bit so we can see each other, our neighbors. Please don't be shy. Come and ask a question of Norm. We've got him here, right? We have him here.
No questions from me.
No. These are no estimates of work to be done. Or if you feel like you're strong enough pipes, don't want to get up and move to the mic, just yell. But they prefer to have it because they're trying to cover this. So if you've got something. Did I see a hand go up? Oh, there we go.
Oh, no, I won't raise my hand. Thank you for everything that you do and for what you've done. I am a huge supporter of the internship program. And I wonder if this old house could have a college. Kind of create I know you have 3 or 4 young people who are working with you, and I've been following that. But it's a bigger connection you have to make. And this is a great audience, but I think the average age is probably shy of the MTV generation. Right?
You think?
There's a lot of good money in 401ks, a little less than there was last week, and there's a lot of brain power here, but we need like another, 20% who are under the age of 30 sitting here listening to this, because they have to make the clarion call. So these crafts, the people that work with you on your show, they have shown, taking the time to getting the knocks out of the heating system, or actually, using brass in your plumbing instead of the plastic stuff and things of that nature. And those are quality issues. They're not just saving money or saving time or making it better, but they're quality. They're the emphasis on doing quality work, Norm, that you do. It's not just your hands, because you're showing people that if they have the right papers, or I watched the YouTube video of some of the work that the people on your show did, and I did my own tile backsplash. But the quality is something we have to impress on this next generation. It isn't necessarily that they had to have a father who helped them put up a fence, but they are precision. They have great minds, these kids. And so I think our challenge, not just as a country, but your challenge as a show, because there will be a time when you'll say, I'm ready to retire.
Well, this is a good question, Norm. Is it possible to take what you're doing in a small, limited fashion, interns, and are you able to replicate it in a more pedagogical way? Look, we've got a school out there,
Right.
and it's connected to this village. Is there something that you guys could do that might grow that?
I think we're already doing that. We had a meeting earlier this morning talking about the 2018 season of this old house, and we're going to continue forward with the apprentice program. And I think this old house has always represented quality and correct technique. Like I said in the video, you either do it right or you don't do it at all. Do it right first time. That's where I was brought up. When I had people working for me and I was trying to train them, it's hard to be a contractor and be an educator at the same time because you're trying to run a business as well. I would always say to them, don't be afraid to ask me a question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I would much rather have you ask me what I want you to do if you don't understand it, so I can tell you what I want, and you have to make sure that you don't walk away. If you don't know, if I still haven't answered your question, keep at me because I want to make sure you do it right. But I think through our apprentice program and other ideas that we talked about today, the content that we have from almost 40 years of television we're finding ways to get more access to that information. And that's where that group that isn't sitting here today, that's where they're looking at it. They're looking at it on their phones, they're looking at it on their iPads, and we know that's where the sweet spot is, and we're learning as we go, I think, would be the best thing to say. I don't see us creating this old house college, but I think
I will apply.
It's like an online. If you look at the content that's available now, it's like an online education program, and I think we're the only ones doing it at that level, personally.
Well, keep it
Because
up.
of these
Whatever
things.
it is you're doing it right. So thank you.
So I don't really have a question, but I have a thought to that. I'm Norm's son, and and what I wanted to say was, I worked with him firsthand, side by side. I've had tool belts on, and I just proof positively could say that his dad, Louis, would truly be proud of him because he's my dad, but he is a national treasure in my opinion as well. So he really is. And I'm honored to be his son, but in particular, he really deserves this moment. This is a special moment, and he's worked so hard for this, and it's so true. Everybody that works with him, I know for sure, they see what he has to offer and what he is delivering. His product is true. It's just sensational, the level of detail. I mean, when he comes to my house, I get freaked out. But I've accepted that. In this, there was jobs that they've been tough working with him. I mean, I show up on a job, and he said, all right, see that pile, that massive pile of concrete? If you and, my best friend working with me, move it into that container, you get $100 for the day. But those were real moments, and that's what it was like growing up. And his dad, to speak to his father, we had a cottage in Douglas, Mass, and every time we were there, it was repairing, it was something functional. Lawnmower repair, we had the oldest living lawnmower in history. Right? And that lawnmower just kept being revived and revived. But really, on an engineering level and a mechanic, he is the total solution. He really offers a full working mind. So he, just like it was mentioned before that Kevin said that he just is thinking. He really is a thinker, and he just thinks through and through to the final product, and that's all I'd like to say. So thank you. Congratulations.
Is there a style of house in New England as you travel around, as you've done your work, as you've visited friends, as you've built your own thing? Besides your own home, obviously, you've been able to get what you want because you have the skills to do that. What are you drawn to?
Lately I've been drawn to shingle style houses, not pure, frankly, right, but shingle style, coastal, I guess more coastal shingle style is probably the thing I'm attached to the most. I like a lot, especially a house that has a lot of different roof angles and dormers and a lot of transitional points rather than just being a box. And for me, and everybody here who knows my house knows that for me it's all about the details. And Tom and I always pitch it all about the details. And when I built the house, every little detail on the outside was as important as the details on the inside. I didn't want to build a typical colonial with just ordinary, rake boards. I wanted to have the look of an older house. In fact, before I built the house, I used to walk the village here and look at all the details of the old houses because I wanted to incorporate some of those in my own house. So I think now, I love the colonial I'm in, but now I'm sort of drawn to the shingle style.
I want to shake the hands of all your colleagues, and it's just been a tremendous honor for me. The first speaker here was Judge Guzman, who I know from my prior life as a state trooper. And I was surprised to see her here, and I said, Judge, what an honor to see you here. And she said, I'm such a big fan of this old house. I've been getting a magazine for 15 years. It's like a Playboy. I just want to see the pictures. But the one individual I did not get a chance to, that's the truth, that I did not get a chance to meet, and I'd like him, if he's here, to stand up, and that's Russell Morash, who is the accessory before the fact, who's created this wonderful series of shows and made these people come into our living rooms and make such a dramatic difference in our lives. So, wherever you are you here? There you are. Thank you, sir. Well, you got to shake my hand. That was the deal.
This was all planned. It's all, it looks ad lib, but it was all planned. I can't just sit around and listen to all these characters talk about my favorite carpenter, my favorite village, and my favorite historian without saying something. But it might be useful to tell you just, I'll keep it brief, how I came to have the privilege of developing this old house. My dad was a carpenter, an unwilling carpenter. He had the misfortune to be born at a time when the Great Depression took his father's building business into the gutter, and they were really unable to continue for a long time during the Depression and afterwards. So my father, who was quite a good amateur musician, was unable to continue his musical activities, and he had to work as a carpenter. Now there's something in that I want you to understand. Had to work. He didn't want to work. He had to work as a carpenter. And he turned out to be a pretty good one. My grandfather was an even better carpenter, and I have ancestors, I'm told, who were shipbuilders, and they probably knew how to handle an adze a shaper and a piece of wood. But my father was good enough so that if he built an addition onto a house, these guys have heard this story again and again, and just with a rule, he could figure out exactly where the new floor should go without having destroyed a wall. He could tell you that a mark on the outside of the building was where the floor was supposed to end up. And he would start and dig a hole and put the concrete blocks in, the footings and the concrete blocks, and build it up and put the sills on it and the decking. And by the time he was finished, he said, okay, we can take the wall down between the two adjoining rooms. The floor would be perfect. Now, Norm knows how to do that. And Tommy Silver knows how to do it. And Charlie Silver knows how to do it. And it's been my incredible experience and luck to meet these great craftsmen. And I can tell you, as a humble television worker, I respect deeply the craft that my boys have brought to my shows. And if we could somehow find a way, Ken, to give this exaltation to these wonderful craftsmen among us, and treat them with the respect that we treat our football players, and God forbid our politicians, well, then maybe there's hope for the future. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Award that we give to everyone who receives the Ken Burns Lifetime Achievement Awards. So these are floating around the country right now. John Williams has one, Tom Brokaw has one, Laura Linney has one, Doris Kearns Goodwin has one, Cokie Roberts has one, Sam Waterston has one, now Norm Abram has one, and Ken Burns, I believe, has one. But in keeping with the village's tradition of really wanting to personalize for our honorees as well, I'd like to invite Derek Heidemann to join me here on the stage. Derek is the coordinator here at Old Sturbridge Village for what we call men's crafts and trades, right? So we use the historic categorization of those. Derek is an expert blacksmith. You know, we use the word expert here. He has been with the museum longer than I have. If you wouldn't know. So what I'd like to do is Derek and I are going to do this together, okay? And Derek is actually going to come up and present the gifts and tell you a little bit about them, and then I will assist you. How's that?
Sounds great. Perfect. Sounds great. All right, so the first item we have for you tonight is a commemorative platter made by our potters here at the museum. We all see that okay? All right. So this was handmade by our master potter. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight, but you want to make sure you have that and enjoy that for many years to come.
My own personalized platter. Beautiful. Thank you.
So number two, when we think of the carpenter's trade, the quintessential tool we always think of is the hammer, of course. So when we were approaching the blacksmith shop about making a hammer for you, Norm, I knew two things. Number one, this had to be a really nice hammer. This had to be a copy of what is, as far as I'm concerned, the Cadillac of the early 19th century hammers in the museum's collection, the strapped claw hammer. So this is my favorite type of hammer that we make in the blacksmith shop. Second, I knew that we had to make this traditionally, we had to do this right. We had to get all the details right. So this is not only made traditionally, it's made with historic iron from the Longfellow Bridge. It was taken legally. So it's, all the details are there. I hope we get a lot of years of use out of it.
Oh, thank you. My initials are on this, so don't anyone think they can get away with this.
That's what I did.
Wow, thank you. This is
You're
beautiful.
very welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And actually, Derek, who made the hammer? He made it. Good to know, team. We are going to conclude our program now. We're very fortunate, actually, here at Old Sturbridge Village to be supported by so many dedicated public officials here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We are sitting now in the Stephen M. Brewer Theater, named for our beloved former Senator, Stephen Brewer, without whose help, back in the mid-2000s, Old Sturbridge Village would not be open today. So Senator Brewer, it's great to have you here. You had the opportunity to get to know Judge Guzman probably better than she would like. She's also here tonight, so thank you, Judge, for being with us this evening. We have State Representative Peter Durant with us. Rep. Durant, where are you? So here he is. State Representative Kate Campanella is here as well tonight. I've had the pleasure of working closely over the past couple of years with a member of the Tantascwa School Board, actually chairman, Mike Valenzola is here tonight as well. Where's Mike? And then on behalf of the Commonwealth, we actually have 2 citations to present to you tonight, but I certainly can't do that, so I'm going to invite first to the stage Representative Todd Smola. And as Rep. Smola comes up, I'll tell you a little bit about the rep. He's been an incredible supporter of the museum. Actually, along with Senator Brewer, he is probably the second person I met in my official capacity as president. I was named to this in February of 07, and in February of 07, I found myself at the State House talking to the good senator and Representative Smola, who has been a diehard and dedicated friend to the museum. This year, we will receive a $50,000 earmark to help us bring out-of-state tourists to central Massachusetts to stay here in the Sturbridge and in the Sturbridge townships and to spend their hard-earned dollars right here in central Mass. And for the ways that investment, right, will help businesses in the Commonwealth get stronger and stronger. So it's a privilege to introduce you, Representative Smola.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's wonderful to be here with all of you tonight. For those of you that don't know, prior to my election to the state legislature, I was a legislative aide to my predecessor, who happens to be Reed Hillman. He's the chair of the Academy Board here at the Village. And I remember that when I first started for Reed, it was kind of baptism by fire, because Reed was sort of and still is a jack of all trades. He did lots of housework. He was on his roof. He would do framing. He would do concrete work. And he used to come into the office with evidence of all this work all over. And I'll never forget, after the first couple of weeks that I was there, Reed came in and he looked a mess. He had concrete, literally, he had concrete on his shoes. He had black pitch on his hands. He had sheetrock dust on his jacket. And he was going up, actually, for a press conference with the governor at the time. So there was a group of us staffers that went up there and we watched it. And the legislators and the governor left, and the staff was kind of standing around, and they didn't really know who I was because I was new. And one of the staffers said, "Man, did you get a look at Hillman?" And to which another one said, "Yeah, he looks like he just came off of the set of this old house." To which another staffer said, "The guys on this old house know what they're doing. Hillman doesn't have a clue." And if you look at Reed and you ask him to put up his 10 fingers, he only has 9, literally now. So you know that he wasn't exactly the best viewer of your program. But thank you very much. It is great to be here. It's wonderful to be here with Ken. And I can't say enough good things about the staff here at Old Sturbridge Village, and particularly now our brand new academy. We are so proud of what this institution does for our region and what it does for the Commonwealth as a whole. And to give this award tonight to Norm, there are many good people that have received this award in the past, but your connection to this village, your personal connection to this village, I can't think of a more fitting recipient of this award. So I am delighted on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to present this official citation, which says, "Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Norm Abram in recognition of you receiving the prestigious Ken Burns Lifetime Achievement Award, which celebrates your outstanding achievements and your contributions to Old Sturbridge Village. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and hopes for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. I am so delighted and honored to present this award on behalf of the Commonwealth to you, Norm. Congratulations to you.
In addition to being very well represented here in Sturbridge by Representative Todd Smola, we also are represented by State Senator Stephen Brewer's successor, and that is State Senator Ann Goby. My understanding is that Senator Goby is here tonight also to present the citation.
Right here.
There she is. All right, Senator.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. I think, where's Reed? Where did he go? I think some people are still trying to put some cement shoes on you. I think I've heard that maybe once or twice. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and to be invited and all the great things that the village does. It's nice to see so many people coming in. And the questions were great tonight. I really enjoyed, and to see what your son's name.
Bob.
Bob. Oh, that's my husband's name. That's a question. But Bob, I too was brought up in a home with a father that could do anything, absolutely anything. So continue to cherish him, because you only get one dad, and they are special. So on behalf of the State Senate, I want to give you this as well. And when I was listening to some of the questions, though, when they were talking about schooling and when you were mentioning about that first stove that you built, if you remember when I'm just trying to remember. When Title IX came in, it was probably about the early 70s. And I was just about ready to go into junior high. And one of the impacts that it had is that at that time, when you had home ec, it was only girls went to home ec, boys went to shop, right? So one of the things that happened after that at a lot of the junior highs and the high schools, they started to let boys could take home ec and girls could take shop. So one of my friends, Paula Beer and I and Spencer, were the first two girls to sign up for shop class when we were in 8th grade. And I made something very beautiful. You can imagine. What was that? It wasn't a stove. Pretty close. It was a dog doorstop. Now, don't laugh. It's probably kindling somewhere. But when you think about the things that you make, because you remember, right? Like I remembered that. I remember doing that. And I remember bringing it home and showing my mom and dad, and I guess they were proud of it, I don't know. But it makes a difference when you work with your hands, whether it's folks in agriculture and the hands in the soil and bringing the fruits and vegetables and things that we need, or if it's the roof over your head. And don't lose hope in this next generation. Just down the road over at Tantascwa, they have a wonderful carpentry program. We have wonderful vocational schools at Bay Path, at Pathfinder. And kids are getting involved. And when someone said, how do we make sure that we can treasure that and that these folks get as much notoriety in a good way than athletes do. And one of it is don't shop at IKEA. When you have the chance to support the people in our towns. In this area we have these back road studio tours, and people open up their shops, and you have an opportunity to go in and to see the talent that literally in our backyards. So don't lose hope. The next generation of kids, they're seeing that, they are learning that. And when you've come into so many people's living rooms for all these years, and it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. And tonight, I'm very pleased on behalf of the Senate to thank you for the difference that you have made and continue to make.
I think I want a picture.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Well, this has been, as I started out saying, a very interesting night for me. I feel very honored to be here. I really appreciate everybody coming here and all the comments that you've made. You know, if it wasn't for my father or Old Sturbridge Village, I probably wouldn't be standing here today, but I'm glad that I got to learn the things I learned, and I hope to pass on as much as I can in the future. And I hope that you out there will encourage young people that you think would be interested in getting into building or any kind of building trade or any kind of art. Let them have a shot at it, rather than thinking that it's not worthwhile, because in a lot of cases, it will be the best thing that could ever happen to them. Thank you.
So thank you, Ken. Thank you, Norm, Senator Goby, Representative Smola. I believe the answers to the questions that were asked by the audience tonight and exchanged between Ken Burns and Norm Abram in celebration can be found right here at Old Sturbridge Village. If we believe that the values are there for the trades and the crafts, if we believe, right, that you do it right the first time, then we have to invest in the village. And I'll leave you with this. We only half of the revenue that we need to operate the museum comes from admissions. And we do that so that we can make sure that all families can afford to come and visit the museum. So if you believe in what Norm and Ken were talking about tonight, please support the village, because we'll be coming to ask very soon. With that, congratulations, Norm. Thank you as always to Ken. Thank you everyone for coming tonight, and we will see you hopefully next year. Thank you.